Hello and welcome to episode 101 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we set up the PCB factory along with the biochamber upgrade. We also set up neutroneum passive blasting and the boldarnator for producing bedrockium. Today I would like to get started making the PCB factory. This is a different way to make circuit boards, and it uses way less resources than the old method of doing it in a chemical reactor. So the PCB factory comes in 3 tiers. Tier 1 is the simplest, and I can do this now. Tier 2 is not in the distant future, but I will not be able to do this now because it needs these reinforced photolithographic framework casings, and these need infinity frame boxes. But I get access to infinity next tier, so this is coming up, but it won't be covered today. There's also the Tier 3 PCB factory, which looks nothing like the Tier 1 and Tier 2. So this is a complete replacement. This is obviously also not available. This needs a UIV assembler to craft the casings, so this is going to wait for some time. In addition, the PCB factory has a few add-ons. I couldn't find them anywhere in NEI. I had to find what they look like on the wiki. But maybe the hologram projector shows me what it looks like. So the 3 upgrades are the biochamber, the liquid cooling tower, and the thermosync radiator. Right now, I will only be able to make the biochamber, and this is mentioned in the quest book. The biochamber allows me to do wetware and bioware circuits using the PCB factory. If you take a look at NEI, it says upgrade required bio for the extreme wetware life support circuit board. So I will be doing that today. The liquid cooling tower unlocks overclocking. This actually doesn't have overclocking by default without it. And the thermosync radiator unlocks perfect overclocking. More on those when I can actually build them. So for now, I'm just going to make the PCB factory controller itself and the biochamber. This kind of is structured like the waterline in a sense, in that these add-ons are kind of just placed nearby and then linked. There's the one main controller multi-block and then additional multi-blocks around, which is cool because I really like the concept of how this is set up. I think there should be more things like this. This is just, it allows for a lot of freedom in placing the blocks and making it look nice. So my immediate question is, where do I put the PCB factory? It is somewhat large, so I think I'm going to put it somewhere here. It also accepts the 64 amp hatches, the GregTech hatches. I will definitely be making use of that by using these superconductor cables. So to actually make the PCB factory, first of all, I need to scan a wetware life support circuit board. That's fine. It's just 180 seconds, which means it's going to be like less than a second in the research station. Besides that, I need neutronium, 4 advanced circuit assemblers at ZPM, some circuits, some arms, nothing crazy. And as for the casings, there's basic photolithographic framework casings. These need Naquata alloy and Artherium SN. And this is something I have made before. It's a pretty simple mixer recipe. It does use arundum, which you could say is a bit expensive, but it doesn't use much. Besides that, it's some plascrete, same as the clean room, Damascus steel, reinforced glass, vibrant alloy, crate machine casings. And I believe the biochamber only uses reinforced glass and clean stainless steel machine casings. I think it may also use Damascus steel frame boxes too, but that's not listed here. So I'm going to gather up those materials and put everything together. Now, because I said the PCB kind of works like the waterline, what that means is something kind of cool. You can share the add-ons between multiple PCBs. And on top of that, the Tier 2 PCB factory has this little building thing. And that's the only difference between the Tier 1 and the Tier 2. When I upgrade to Tier 2, I could quite easily make a second PCB factory. Okay. And just wall share this whole thing. And that would save on quite a bit of material. So basically I need to build something like this. This structure here, and then space for a second PCB factory. And all the add-on structures should be kind of along a line in between so that they can be shared between both, so that they're in range of both, is what I mean. I also did gather the materials needed for the biochamber, but now let's put this thing together. PCB factory is done, but I need to build the biochamber. And you may notice that there is no controller block. So how do you know how to build the biochamber? It's in the UI of the PCB factory. So you go to the configuration menu, and then you select what you want to see and what you want to have active for the multi-block. And then you can set the position using these offsets. So I've chosen to turn on the biochamber, and I have an X offset of 11 and a Z offset of -10. So now if I right click this with a projector, it shows me where it's going to go. And of course, you can shift right click with the projector to auto build if that's what you want to do. Biochamber is done, and I think I've placed it perfectly so that when I expand this to tier 2 and I make another PCB, it should be symmetric. And now the structure has formed. It does check for the biochamber as well, so that's why it was incomplete before, but now it is formed. So great, we now have a PCB factory. Tier 1. Now I'm going to hook this up to applied energistics and to power, and then I will explain how this works. I think I understand the PCB factory. It's pretty simple actually. In terms of hooking things up, it is very simple. There's a quadruple input hatch with a fluid P2P tunnel, and on the other side of this dual interface is an input bus. There is something to consider with the recipes though, because if you look at the controller of the PCB factory and you go into configuration menu, there is this one parameter called trace size. You can set this to any number between 50 and 200, and based on the number you set, you get a different processing time and a different number of outputs. It's explained here in the quest book. It says formulas. It's kind of hard to read with my dark background, but basically what ends up happening is if you set trace to 100, that's the base amount. So your recipes will be 1 times the output and 1 times the processing speed compared to NEI. If you set trace to 50, then you get double the output, but it takes 4 times as long. If you set the trace to 200, you get half the output, but it takes a quarter as long. I think generally you want to have this on 50. Maybe there's some justification for putting it up to 200 before you have the overclocks unlocked, because this multi doesn't overclock, at least not without the add-ons, which I don't have. So for now, I could justify putting this above 100, maybe even all the way up to 200, but I don't mind taking a little bit longer to do the craft. So 50 micrometers is what I'm going to be setting this to, especially because once I do have the overclocks unlocked, the second tier of that add-on brings this up to perfect overclocks even. So at that point, there's kind of no justification for wasting material for processing speed, because I can just overclock it and then I have the same effect without losing the input materials. So I'm just going to set this to 50 and I will probably never think about this again. And as a test, I checked out the plastic circuit boards. Those are the first tier of circuit board you can make in the PCB factory. I went with this recipe with the poly... oh, by the way, I have recently learned that I have been saying this a little wrong. It's not polybenzimidazole, it's polybenzimidazole. Anyway, I went with the polybenzimidazole, and this makes 46 circuits at 12 seconds at the base processing speed. But because of my trace size of 50, I will get 92 plastic circuit boards, but it's going to take me 48 seconds. I'm okay with that, especially considering like this is barely any material at all for 92 plastic circuit boards. And it just gets better with higher tiers of input stuff. So the Radox polymer plate I can't make yet. Kevlar plates I can. But yeah, basically what I need to do from now on when I'm encoding recipes is double the output. That's it. So yeah, honestly, this is a pretty simple multi-block, and this did not take as long as I thought it would. While I figure out what to do next, I'm gonna have some neutroneum passively smelting. And I don't want to do this in the Mega Blast Furnace anymore. It's so fucking slow. And it just consumes the blast furnace, so I can't do any other blasts while it's going. So I think I'm gonna reactivate these Vulcani. I haven't been using these at all. So I think I'll just turn all of them into a passive neutronium smelting facility. And as for what to do next, I'm a bit conflicted between doing Kevlar or doing more waterline. Waterline would be nice because then I can finish off the beamline once and for all. Beamline number 4 anyway. And I guess making better circuits would make making Kevlar machines cheaper, like the machines for the Kevlar line. So, okay, let's do waterline today. Oh my god, I did not realize how much better this is for wetware. Like, look at this. Like, for 24 extreme wetware circuit boards, I don't use any IV sensors, I don't use any LUV pumps. If you remember before, I had to make the wetware life support circuit boards, and these needed IV sensors, LUV pumps, and making 16 of those cost me more growth catalyst medium than making 24 of these. This is a huge upgrade, actually. Wow, this might actually now make it so that instead of using the crystal tier of circuits for everything, I'm going to start using the wetware, because now I don't think it's actually prohibitively expensive anymore. That's big. That's going to save me a lot of time, processing time. Also, about the passive neutronium setup I was mentioning, I think I'm going to make a couple of mixers. This is pretty slow. 11 seconds for one raw neutronium dust, and then that needs to be blasted. But yeah, so I think I'm going to make like a couple of mixers here, wall share them, and then transport it over to here so that it all processes. And in the meantime, I will also start planning my water line. That said, it might be time to retire the the solar setup. I'll keep it. I'll have it running anyway, but like it's not gonna keep up with more water line. So it's time to start relying on my real power for that. Which also means I might need to do a little bit of amount sensing, like how much water I have, because I don't want it to run all the time, because the power cost is going to add up. I'll probably just have some buffers filled and then use machine controllers or something to turn everything off. Alright, lots to plan, lots to craft. I will be back in a bit. So, the water line. The Tier 5 machine is the Extreme Temperature Fluctuation Purification Unit, and it looks like this, which is very cool. And I have already gathered up all of the parts except for the controller. It's mostly blocks you've seen before. There's also superconductor-based ZPM frame boxes. There's neonite, which is kind of weird and funny that this is needed, but it's a very simple block. It's just glowstone and emeralds. And there's heat-resistant trinium-plated casing, which is new. This needs osmiridium, NAC alloy screws, trinium, neutronium, and ultimate voltage coils. That's fine. Controller needs a single cell of grade 4 water to be scanned. I've done that. And all of these parts are all things you've seen before. The only issue is the UV 64 amp energy hatch. This needs the ultimate power transformer, which needs bedrockium wire. And bedrockium is being a little annoying. So bedrockium you can get, one way is from blasting the ingots and then cooling them, or blasting the dust rather. And you get this from bedrockium ore, but bedrockium ore needs a tier 9 rocket, and it also kind of sucks because blasting this dust takes forever. 400 seconds at ZPM. Ugh, that's with the radon. And the very fastest it can get is still 3 minutes. That's terrible. But actually, you can make bedrockium ingots as early as HV. Costs a diamond block and about 26,000 cobblestone to make one ingot. So the cobblestone, like, yeah, it's cobblestone and it's free, but that is a lot of cobblestone. And actually, I don't have enough. Could you believe I don't have enough cobblestone at this point? So I have a drawer here and it's filling up with this EV rock breaker, but it's still pretty slow. It's not that fast. But there is a rock breaker multi. This is unlocked after you make the alloy blast melter, and it's called the Boulderator. So this is plus 200% speed, so 3 times as fast. Uses less EU, but I don't care about that. And it has 8 times the tier number of parallels. I'm gonna get a lot more cobblestone. This should be pretty easy to make. It uses the EV rock breaker, so I'm just going to dig this one up. So I'll be back with the Boldarnator, and more importantly, I will be back with my tier 5 water purification plant, the Extreme Temperature Fluctuation Purification Unit. Alright, I got it set up. Now I don't think I can use the same Boldarnator to make obsidian as well as cobblestone, because this doesn't seem to work. But anyway, you also need to put in a reservoir hatch and an input hatch that has lava in it so that this can work. It doesn't consume the lava, so you can just have like a bucket, and that's fine. Now I make 960 cobblestone per second. This should build up really quick, and I should be able to get my bedrockium, and I should be able to do this, and then I can try to figure out how to actually automate it. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will set up grade 5 and grade 6 water. After that, we will upgrade to americium doped wafers and update all the beamline recipes to use them. And perhaps we will also finish the construction of the final beamline, but no promises, since we don't really need that yet. See you next time.